Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I hope we're finishing off the Harry Potter Book Nook. See you in a minute. Now, as I said at the beginning of this series, this has been a long ongoing thing. It started, I think, in France in 2023 when we were on holiday with the grandchildren, and my daughter asked if I could have a look at this Book Nook thing that she'd seen on the internet. So probably about a month ago now, I think you saw me make the door up so that the actual mechanism was functioning, but now it's time to get stuck in and get the actual box itself finished, all the interior done and all the animals painted and everything like that. So let's dive in now, have a look and see how we get on. Just cutting down the mirror acrylic now for this base for the box, using the little alpha cutter. If you use a normal knife, it tries to pull the material from both sides and it sort of produces a ridge almost, whereas the alpha cutter actually scrapes a groove, a V-shaped groove out. So once you've got the first lot through, the first 2 or 3 passes, you don't need a straight edge anymore. You can basically get into that groove and carry on using it. See if that does it. Yeah, that's it. Produces a nice clean cut, and that will go into there. And then when we put the back on, you'll have the whole thing done. But I can build all of the base stuff up on this actually outside the box itself. Makes it much easier to work on, and leave, as I said before, leave a space for battery boxes and that behind it, or plugins, whatever I'm using. I haven't really thought about it yet quite, but I just want to get the base sorted first, and we can set out our animal heads and the snake and all sorts of things like that. Next thing I need to do, I think, is to get positions. I want to put a pair of red LEDs behind the eyes of this face before we attach it and stick it down and alter it a bit with some putty and stuff to make hair go out sideways. And there's also some flickering LEDs to make these oil lamps work that again need working on there. So I'm going to mark those out first, drill the holes for them, and then I can worry about putting them in afterwards. Now, I was having difficulty seeing what I was doing with this black 3D printing, so I've just sprayed it with a coat of grey primer for the moment, just so I can see what I'm doing better. But I think you can get the idea now. That's one of the little flickering LEDs put in on one side on the lamps. I've just drilled a hole right through to the back, cut the top off them, and then stuck I'm going to stick the new LED on top, and you can see that gives a flickering effect. I've also got some red LEDs which I'm going to put in behind the face, behind the eyes. I'll just try one of those and see how that looks. So again, we'll have red eyes. When you open the front door, the lights will all light up. There'll be red eyes in the face there. There'll be the flickering ones, and then I shall do some normal white LEDs, soft whites, that'll be doing up lighting all the way along the length of it inside. Just going to get a bit of paint on the snake heads and snake for this Harry Potter box. The military modeler guys seem to start by painting everything black, which is totally contrary to everything I've ever done before, but they get much better results than I can, so we'll give that a go. I think just going to put these heads ready, give them a coat of grey first, just to get a coat of paint on them and see where there are any problems, and then we'll give it a satin black. I've just been looking at the animal heads that I've got. They've got quite a coarse screw thread inside them, and I was looking for something I could use to secure them down rather than just gluing them, and I've found that if I take some of my 4mm inserts that I've got and put them in there, they literally just screw in nicely. So I'm just going to secure them with a spot of super glue. I probably don't need it, but I've then got some countersink 4mm screws that I can drill up through the bottom of the Perspex mirror finish stuff I've got, and that will secure the heads down for all time, I hope. And it also means I can get a 4mm bolt to hold these things while I paint them. I'm just marking it out now. I've marked the position of the end piece, and then I've just marked from that, I've spaced 6 holes for where I want the serpent's heads to go. So I'm going to drill those now with a 4mm drill, countersink the underneath, and that should help me get that sorted. And I'm just cutting a piece of foam board or foam cord plastic to suit that walkway from the door down to this area. And this is Foamex, I think. It's like an aerated plastic, and the beauty of that is that you can get if I can find one, a scriber. You can mark out where you want your paving, and it just puts a crease in it that will replicate the sort of gaps in the stones on there as well. So I can mark that out on here and then just mark it with the scriber, and it indents the surface like a joint in the paving. The path roughly embossed. I've just scratched it up and made the marks for the slabs. Just going to give that a coat of black now, and then we can start and get the grey stone finishes on it. Now I've just put the filler stuff to try and make the face look a bit more like the one in the that we're trying to replicate, with the hair sort of straggling out sideways as well. So I've just done that with a bit of modelling filler. I've smoothed out some of the bumps in the face that were there from the 3D printing, and so that's now ready to just get a coat of black again, and then we can start and paint it up. It's got to be white ultimately, or dirty white with streaks of other weathering in it. I think I'm beginning to get somewhere close now. I haven't taken the covering off the mirror yet, but we've given the most of the components a bit of a paint. I've still got to do the inside of the mouths of all the snakes red, and I've got to get a red tongue for this basilisk, but they've all now been given a couple of coats of different sort of greens and a bit of dry brushing, bit of white on top, so they're all pretty much there now. The only thing really I need to do is sort some walls out for this place and a vaulted sort of ceiling. I've got some little lights which I think I can probably work with to light up the inside of it. I think we're starting to get somewhere with the Book Nook. That's getting the I've got some little lights in the top which I've put in temporarily at the moment, but they will get some more attention when we get onto the electronics. And we're starting to get an idea of what it's going to look like, I think, now, with the face and all the animals in there. So it's time to probably start and do all the detailing on the walls. Need to do some stippling on the stonework, and then we can move on to the lighting, electronics, and then finally tidy the outside up. And then of course the biggest one of all is the actual door, where we've got to get the serpent heads sorted. I've got some new cord which has got like a sort of a snake body pattern on it in red anyway. By the time that's toned down and weathered down, I think that'll be quite interesting. We'll perhaps move on to that as well. Time for a quick update on where we are with the book box. I've put a base coat of black on all of the snake heads and the snake itself. I've dry brushed that with a couple of different shades of green, and that's starting to look somewhere close. I've got to do inside the mouths and the teeth and things like that. I've done the snake, so that is close now. We're getting really close to being able to put those in permanently. I've also cut myself some foam core boards for the sides, walls, the roof. There's like a barrel vaulted ceiling, and the back wall. These now, I've marked them out with a marker pen, but they now need a bit of sort of stippling to make them look a little bit more stone-like. And I've drilled holes in the top to get some little lights in that will come along when we get onto the electrics. Give a little bit of light inside the thing itself. Okay, I've just given it a very light dust over with the matte black, satin black, just to take some of the redness out of these snake bodies, because they were looking a bit heavy. It's all got to be just weathered over with a bit of sort of gold dry brushing to finish that off, I think. But as far as the box itself is concerned now, that's pretty much finished. So all I'm going to do now is pop all the insides back into it, and we can start and put this thing together and just wire it up. So the box works. We need to put the floor in, which we've got now. All of this just about wangles in, so it's a bit of a fight to get it in. Hopefully once it's all done, it's the base in, then the back wall goes in, and as I say, the last thing to do on that will be to wire up the LEDs, but that won't take more than a couple of minutes, I don't think. And again, it's a bit of a struggle to get it in the right way. Remember how it goes together. Go. Okay, I've then got the two walls inside. Most of this is self-supporting, so there's not going to be any need, I don't think, for glue. Then the other wall, this one's a bit more difficult because of the cutout for the cog. In there, like that. And the back wall. Now before the back wall goes in, I've got to put a beam across the top, which I've got somewhere and I just need to find. So that forms like top of the portal or fireplace or whatever it is. Let's put a spot of glue on that. And then there's the back wall to go in. And then the actual roof part itself. And I think that's pretty much it. I've got to trim the roof down a bit, I think, to get the lid on. But we'll just make sure we can do that. So that's it now. The lighting needs to be connected up. But that's the portal finished, and of course we mustn't forget to put the basilisk, the snake that lives in there, inside as well. That will be left as something for him to lift out and look at, so we'll probably give him that wrapped separately. And so here we are at the end of what is, well, it's an 18-month saga really. It only needed to have been a few days, but a lot of things got in the way in the meantime, but it is at last finished, this time with about 12 hours to spare before we're off down to see the grandchildren. But it's now a properly working box. And the lighting inside works, I hope. There we are. So. It's something that's very difficult to film with my levels of camera and equipment, but we've now got the whole of the book nook finished, snakes painted, demon eyes done, flickering lights done, overhead lights done, so I'm quite pleased with that. Well, that's another successful build out the way, and as you can see I'm just off ready now to get in the car and go off down to Weston, so it was cutting this one a bit close to the wire, but we got there in the end. Hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you next time in the shed. We'll be doing something different. See you then. Bye.